Hello there, it's Kim again, coming to you in another paper crafting video. My name is Kim, I'm with Wild Rose and Pearl, and I'm coming today with our 6x6 Love Notes paper. Now you get a whole bunch of sheets of 6x6 paper, and these have kind of like some Valentine's tags in there and some textured or designer series paper parts to them. Okay, so you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sheets times 8, which gives you 48 sheets. Yeah, 6 times 8, 48. Going back to that old multiplication tables. So I have taken these 6 sheets here and I wanted to create 10 cards because we have this really cool product in the catalog that kind of helps and supplements with these called our basic white note cards and envelopes. And the finished size is 5 inches by 3.5 inches. And then they come with the envelopes as well. So you just tuck them inside the envelope. They're just they're like a smaller card, but yeah, they come with the cards and then they come with the envelopes and they're just this little note card size. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to make some little valentines, but that you could also write inside of them to people. Yeah, so, and they come in a pack of 20 of them. So they're here on page 123, but doesn't really describe how many you get. Here's an example of them being used. But you can also look on page 35 of the catalog, and it tells you there's 20 card bases, 20 envelopes. So if we make 10, that's half of this pack. So if you wanted to make, oh geez, you could make 80 of these if you wanted to duplicate and go crazy, make a whole bunch of our school program or something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to break it down and show you the instructions on how I made these cards. Let me show you the ones we're making today, just so that you can see them. We've got Happy Valentine's Day, Happy Heart Day. Now this one here, you could do either or. The other side has the same design, but inside the middle of the heart, it says "Be Mine." Cute little cup, made for 2. We just click. I thought that was cute. Also because I take photos. Love lollipops. This was made with a whole bunch of the scraps. Really love this one. This one was inspired by our demonstrator support. Love you more, and sending hugs. So this one doesn't even have to be Valentine's. You could send that to someone else too. Yeah, so how about we just get started? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all the pieces so you can see how I broke it down, and then I'm going to sort them into the 10 piles for each card. So I will show you how I did all the cutting first. So I'm going to start off first by doing all of the pieces that have all of these valentines. These are 2 pieces of paper that are just designer series paper. I've got some cut lists on those. So we'll just start off with these. Put a new blade in today. Yeah, and I wanted to show you also, this is my waste pile. Just so you know I'm making the most of it. This is all I had left for waste. Just a couple of little pieces, not a lot. That could be used on something else. But not a lot of waste on this video you'll see today. Okay, so first of all, we're just gonna cut these into the 4 pieces. So these squares are 3 inches by 3 inches. I'm just gonna cut those straight out. So this is an instructional video. Ooh, nice sharp blade today. Love it. Love when you get that new blade and you don't have any frayed edges and it feels like you're cutting on the lines just perfectly. Perfect. Well, as perfect as I can get. So back to that 3-inch mark. Cut. And if you have a little sliver or whatever, you can take a guillotine cutter or just, you know, shorten it just by the slightest, like 1/16 of an inch. to get that other color off, but we're cutting pretty clean today. So these ones, yeah, we're going to cut them into all 4 of these little pieces, and each piece is 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna go to my 4.5. So this one here, you can, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe if I put it against something white. Just to show you, there's a little sliver of that red at the bottom. So I can just take it, put it back in, and I'm just gonna cut just a sliver off of it. And the easiest way to do that so that you don't break the paper when you're cutting from the bottom, go about halfway, then place your blade in, and then cut both back and forth. And then you should get a nice clean cut without tearing the end. That's just a little tip for you. You should be able to see the difference in the line. Halfway through. That one looks really good. And then this one will be 1.5 inches. Now that one I have a little sliver of the blue on this one. So I'm gonna put that back in. Go to my 1.5 inch and just a little past it. Lay the blade down and then up and down. It gives me a nice clean cut. Okay. So we've got all those ones cut. Now we've got these ones that have a solid chunk on the one side and then a skinnier panel. On the backs, they have 2 valentines and then a different design. So I've made a note of how I've cut this. I'm gonna go and I'm going to cut this directly in half. We're gonna separate these 2 pieces first. So that's a 1 3/4 inch line. And we've got that sliver again. So I'm just going to turn this round. 1 3/4 inch, that means we have 4 1/4 inches left. So I'm gonna do that trick again, part of the way through. Oh. That way I get that nice cut edge without pulling or tearing. Then you can take your bone folder. If you get a ridge on it, you just take your bone folder or your nail and just straighten that out. So this one here is 3 inches. These ones are 3 inches. So cut that. Got the same issue on this one again. Where I've got just a little bit too much. Okay, there we go. I made a note on that one. We're just gonna put that one in the pile. And then this one we're gonna bring in. One 3/4 is the size again. That one looks great. And then our 3 inch mark here. Because I do believe I'm using, yep. 3 inch mark. Looking fabulous. Okay. So now I'm going to pull in these ones and these ones. I've cut all of my spare pieces, so we'll put these off to the side because we're going to have to pull these in for each design. Okay, so we've got all of our little pieces here. Put those off to the side and we'll pull them in as we need them. Okay, so this one here, what did I say? Yeah, this one here was the one I pulled off my backing for. Then I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut this. So this is going to get cut. It's going to have 1 inch off the top because the height or width of the card, remember, was 5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I want to make this 5 inches tall. So it's 6 inch paper. So I'm just going to cut that 1 inch off the top. Okay. We'll put that aside. That ends up being in the scrap pile. Then we're going to cut 1 3/4 inches off of here. from the left, and that will leave me with 2.5 inch remainder. So that's my little cut list for that one, okay? And we'll be pulling in pieces as we go. This heart one here, which has the lovely purple on the back, I want to make sure I keep my hearts in the right direction here. So I'm going to make sure that when I cut off, I'm going to cut off this side here. The hearts are going to be going up because it's directional paper. So what we're going to do is take this from a 6 inch by 6 inch. We're going to cut 1 inch off the side. Now I'm just going to go on this side because my 1 inch is right there. That way I can keep this side nice and flat. So I'm going to cut the 1 inch off the side there. Hoping you can still see that. So the 1 inch mark off of here. So that's going to give me 1 inch. Okay. Then I'm going to cut again at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to get a 1/2 inch piece. Okay. Then I'm going to turn this sideways because now I have 4.5 inches left. Turn this sideways and I'm going to cut this at 3 inches. So directly in half. It's 6 inches high, and that's going to give me 2 panels. So this is what I've cut on this one. Okay, so now you can see what I've done there. All right, okay, and then piece number 3 is this one here, and it's again directional, right? One way is going to go vertical, one way is going to go sideways. So I'm going to cut this one with my lines going this way, horizontally. I'm going to cut this one at 1 inch. Let me bring that back in. So we're going to cut this one 1 inch off the end of this one. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this 90 degrees, and I'm going to cut 2.5 inches off of here. So 2.5 inches by 5 inches. This one's going to get flipped over. Right now, we're just going to cut them like this. Then I've got, if I turn it back to the horizontal position, I have a 3 inch by 3 inch piece, a 3 inch by 1.5 inch piece, and then a 1/2 inch by 3 inch piece. Okay, so technically speaking, I just need to cut this 3 inches. Right? If I get this cut wrong, I'm hoping I don't. So we're going to cut a 1/2 inch off. Okay, and then I should have 3 inches left, right? Yep. So here's my 3 inch by 3 inch panel. Here's my 3 inch by 1.5 inch panel. And then I will have a 1/2 inch by 3 inch piece left. Okay. Okay. So this is kind of my cuts here. And this piece is actually going to disappear. We're not going to be using that 1/2 inch piece. Okay, so we'll pull that out. And then these are going to be my remainder pieces. Okay. Alrighty, put those aside. Now we'll pull in that last pretty piece. Now this one's a little bit tricky because we're trying to keep this image here. So we're going to be centering, we're going to be cutting off of each end to make sure that we get what we want. So first of all, I'm going to take this, turn it 90 degrees, and then I'm going to cut 1 inch off the top of it. Okay, so we'll cut our 1 inch right off the top. Then we're going to cut it a 1/2 inch off the right. Sorry, bring that back in again. So a 1/2 inch off the right-hand side of our florals here. 1/2 inch. And then we're going to cut it a 1/4 inch off the other side. Now, because I don't want to try and keep this, I'm going to flip it upside down and I'm going to cut my 1/4 inch off of this side. Just a 1/4 inch. Okay. So there we go. Those are all of our cuts. So then this one would look like, so. That's how we're going to cut that one. Okay, so now we've got all of our pieces all cut and ready to go. So now I will pull them in one at a time and we will work on them. Which one should we do first? Ooh, let's go this one. Okay, so we'll pull in all the pieces we need. We need a card base, okay? And then we're gonna go through all of our bits over here and we're gonna find our pieces. So the heart one has the purple on the back. And this one here has the blue on the back and the stripes on the front. So we're going to need, first of all, we're going to need our lollipops. So there's our lollipops, okay? And then we're gonna need our one piece here. Let's pull that in from our little pile. I should have organized these piles a little bit better, but I stacked them all on top of each other. So we're just gonna do that a little off camera here. This is my blue. This is my blue. This is my purple pile. Never mind. This is my blue pile. So here's the piece I need, but it's on the opposite side. So here we go. All right. Then I'm going to need the love. So we'll pull this one out, the love one. And I've got a little note on here because that means I need to do some trimming. So the other side of this one is just a crosshatch. So I've got to trim 1/4 of an inch off the top and 1/4 of an inch off the bottom. So I'm going to line that up. Oh, you can see. That's good. You can see, but I can't see. 1/4 inch off the top. We're going to put that aside because that's going to go on another card. And then we're going to do 1/4 inch off the bottom. On this one. Okay. Perfect. So now you can see how our card is coming together. And then this one here is just going to go right on top. So I'm going to pull in my glue. And I'm going to pull in some dimensionals. Get all the bits that we need here. Okay, some dimensionals and some glue. And I'm going to pull in my bone folder because I want to fold this card in half before I start working on it. Alrighty. I'm thinking I'm gonna make some of these with my kiddo. She can probably give some to her friends. Now, if you ever come to an issue where you've got a card that is a little bit, when you fold it, it's a little bit bigger on one side than the other, just flip it over so the big side's on the front. Nobody will know that there's a little discrepancy there. Okay. So now this is going to go nice and evenly on this side. Now this was really cute, but it didn't work. It says something sweet for someone neat. So if you like play on words, you can design something differently. But for me, this worked out great. Now where's my little glue holder? Ah, there it is, my little glue holder. Don't even have to put my lid on. I can just put it in there. It's 3D printed, 3D printing. All kinds of cool stuff happening with 3D printing. So we're just going to lay that on the card, nice even spacing along the 3 sides. If you just line it up with even spacing, it should line up really nice. Then we've got our little piece here that we cut. This was 3 inches by 1.5. So then we're going to line that one up nice and snug up with the end there. We're going to grab 3 dimensionals so we get some nice stability. 1, 2, and 3. Now this is where I should bring in my take your pick tool. This is such a great tool. I just poke the ends of these little dimensional backings and they come right off. Can't remember who I learned that from, but love that tip. So then this I put all the way to the edge and I just put it about 1/2 inch from the bottom, off from the left. So there we go. There's our first one. Look how easy that was. Not too bad at all. Having fun yet? Are we having fun yet? I hope we're having fun. Okay, next one. Ooh, which one should we grab? Let's do that one. Okay, this is also going to use the blue. So we'll bring in a card base again, like we did last time. Where we're going to take our card base, fold it in half with our bone folder. And that's my better side there. So now we're going to pull in our 3" by 3" piece. And remember, we had a little sliver left of this, and it was from our, now where was that little sliver again? That was from, oh, that was from these pieces. So these pieces here, I've got this piece here. We're just gonna have a lovely little sliver of another kind of, it's not gingham, it's like, it's kind of like gingham, like it looks like a picnic, right? And then we're gonna pull in our little heart. And this time, I'm gonna choose to use the Be Mine. And I had a note on this one too, because we do a little bit of trimming because these are both the same size. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim 1/4 inch off of each side. And then this time I'm gonna use the Be Mine side. So let's pull in our cutter again, and we're gonna do 1/4 inch off each side. So I'm just gonna use my 1/4 inch off this side. And I'm just gonna cut 1/4 inch, 1, 1/4 inch, and then it will be 2.5 inch squared. 2.5 inch squared, finished size. Okay. So just like last time, we're gonna take all of our pieces off. I'm gonna use my bone folder because I do have some raised edges from the cutting process. You'll always get a bit of a raised edge on the one side of your card when you use a cutting blade. It'll always have, like, the fibers of the paper, it will always leave like a slight ridge on the underside of what you're cutting. Okay, so just put that one right down the center. And if I've got any issues with the edges of it being a little bit bigger, I can just grab my little snips. We're just gonna snip that off. We're gonna do that a little bit today. Some of these, it's easier to lay it down than try and cut it ahead of time and have it. So then this one here, I'm gonna glue this one directly on to my blue because I'm gonna pop up that blue. Just whenever you use dimensionals, you kind of pop up those, you just make it a little extra fancy. And I can feel those grooves again. So I'm just gonna use my bone folder and lay those paper fibers flat down. Grab my dimensionals. I'm gonna put 5 on these ones. I'm gonna put 1 in each corner. 1 in each corner and then 1 in the middle. You know, it's funny, I really liked lives for the idea of interacting with people. It was really fun for somebody to be able to say, hey, you know, like, I really like that, or, oh my goodness, can't hear a word you're saying there, Kim. Your speaker's not working. So there was like a kind of a really cool interaction that came with live videos. I can't do them anymore, but it was fun for a little time there. Okay. So there we go. This one has Be Mine, and this one is just the heart. So either way you like it, it's yours to choose. Number 2, done. Okay. Number 3. Ooh, let's try and do something that has a little bit of this green on there. Okay. We Just Click. Love this one. The photographer in me is just like, yeah. And I love the play on words too. I didn't use a lot of the play on words parts, Wait till you see the purple one. It's got this really cute pun saying. Okay, so now we just need to bring in our elements. So we're gonna go back to our heart paper and we're gonna pull in this one here. Oh yeah, this is this orientation. So we're gonna pull that this way. And then we're gonna pull in our green piece, and it's the larger of the two. So we've got the larger of the two pieces. We've got this piece here in the heart and this piece here in the larger of the two. Then we've got to bring in our camera. See, that's just not the same. It's so much better. We just click. I love that. Okay, so easy peasy, just like the last one. We're just gonna adhere this on. And the hard thing sometimes with designer series paper is that you have a hard time choosing a side. And because I was trying to get 10 cards, I had to be very strategic about how I chose my sides based on what I had left. So some of the things that you see there, oh, it's so cute, I wish I'd done that, you know, it had to be sacrificed for the better good of all the projects. Okay. So then we're just going to lay this one down. And you can see again, like I said, I decided not to cut it because then I could just trim it off, right? So now I'm just going to take my snips, turn it upside down so I can see the white differentiating from the purple. And then I just snip it off. None the wiser. Another little scrap. There wasn't a lot of scraps with this set of designs here. And then this one here, I just put that on dimensionals, put it right on. Didn't trim it, didn't change it. I really liked it the way it was. And we've got this cute little pink that's in the flowers here. We're gonna use 5 for that. 1. Where's my take your pick? It's always my friend. You've got a friend in me. If it could sing, I know that's what it would sing. That's what that take your pick tool would do. It would sing. You got a friend in me. We just click. Sweet, number 3 is done. Look at us. We're flying through here. Ooh, what do we do now? What do we do now? Oh, let's do this pretty one. You're amazing. I just thought this was a great Valentine, but also a great thing that you could just say to someone. Just a great little note card to just say to someone. I'm going to check my edges again. Ooh, this one's pretty even. Then we're going to pull in the one that we cut. So see, there's a reason why I went with this side. It's way cuter. Okay, so that one's just going to go like that. And then we've got this piece here that came from the other side of the paper. Had to be strategically cut because you can see there was some centering here that would have messed us up. So that one's going to go across the center. And then we're going to grab out of our little pile here. You're amazing. And I can see those edges trying to curl up. So I'm just going to flatten this. I must have cut it from the other side. Alrighty. So this one's going to go together. Lickety split. Lickety split. And that reminds me, lickety split, reminds me of an ice cream shop. I swear this is what it's called. I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to go look at it now and see if I'm remembering correctly. But I swear there's a ice cream shop in Sicamous, British Columbia, that is called Lickety Splits. Lickety Split. I'm sure. And if you want to comment after and let me know, have you ever been to it? Do you want to go to it? It was kind of like the old school days A&W drive-through. It was just like it's a very vintage looking little ice cream shop. And in the summertime in Sicamous, which is a boating town, boating and snowmobiling town, Four Seasons little town, it had this cute little ice cream shop, and the lineup would be out the door in the afternoon because we get hot summers here in the Okanagan. Okay, so again, we're just gonna snip that off. So I should probably let you know, I put this it was approximately 1 inch from the top. I put that little strip, and then I just centered that to the top. But there's number 3. There's our scrap. Or number 4. Number 4. Look at us. We're just flying through. Number 4. Number 5. Oh, are you like me? Are you dying to do the purple? I think I'm going to pull the purple one out next. Yay! Okay, so this one's done horizontally. Again, we're just going to fold our card base. Number 5. Okay, that one should go that way. And then this is some of our heart paper, I believe. Yep, it is. And remember, these ones were the same size. These ones were the same size. So we're just going to flip one of these over. Flipperoo. I'm going to take my bone folder and just calm those edges down. Just calm down. Because they are on guard. They are saying hello. Okay, so that one's just centered. So we just line that up with nice even spacing on the edges. And then we're gonna pull in this purple one. Now, this was the hardest thing because this is super cute. This is a super cute pun. Check this out. You're extra special. Very cute, but it had the 2 in the front, which is not something I was looking for. So this one I brought in, and then this one we cut 1/2 inch off the bottom. So I'm gonna bring in my cutter again. We're just gonna do a little trim, triminy. Yep, so just a little trim off the bottom there. And then we're going to space this evenly with this outside edge, as you can see in the other one. Nice and even. My glue is my buddy today with these projects. Very, very fast and efficient. I do like using my seal, but sometimes glue is a girl's best friend. Okay. And then Happy Valentine's Day, we're tucking that right up against the edge, as you can see. And we're just going to put that on with dimensionals. Now again, those edges, I can feel them. I'm a little bit of a person who feels stuff like that, but the great thing about being one of those kinds of people is you get fascinated with stuff like embossing, or like when the paper has got a texture to it, or when it's embossed and it's raised and it's shiny and yep, we appreciate stuff like that. Okay, so then this one, I centered it directly between these, centered it nice and directly there. Now, if you wanted to trim this off a bit, you could, so you can get a little bit more white, center it that way. But I just left it the way it was for the sake of being quick. So there we go. Happy Valentine's Day, cute little purple one. It doesn't always have to be pink. Okay, and then I'm going to save this one till the last because this is all done with scrap leftovers. Let's do sending hugs. Sending hugs, which can be used for more than just Valentine's Day again, right? I have taken my daughter to a craft store, and we have done a little card class with her too, where she got to design some cards and invite some friends over. So there's this piece from here. I know it's hard not to do more cards with the purple, but there was very limited amount of purple designs in this kit, in this set. So I went a lot more with the reds and greens than I did the... So these I would say are kind of probably more directional this way, but because we're sending them, we're sending those hugs, I think they can fly about. I'm just gonna let them fly about. Alrighty, 1, 2, and 3 points for stability. I've said this before in one of my other videos. I learned that doing rock climbing, and how if you have 3 points on, how that is a great rule of thumb. You'll be fairly safe if you have 3 points on, and then you move your 4th point. So 2 hands, 1 foot, 2 feet, 1 hand, kind of idea. Okay, back to the project. So sending hugs, flying hearts everywhere, super fast. These are super fast. Like, we are doing so good. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. So this was the one where we needed the directional paper. We could have done this one with the direction going this way, but I really liked the variety of the textures. I got to see more textures than just 3 by doing it this way. So I chose to do it that way. Okay, and we're gonna fold this, and you can choose whichever end you want to for this one. There's my larger side. So when I go to cover it with, and then this one here, you could choose to do just the hearts, but there was a lot of blank space on the bottom. So I chose the Happy Valentine's Day side because it just was more, just more to it. Okay. So you can choose that side or this side, which I like this side better because I'm getting a little more breaking up with the white piece. And that, I just put some glue on it. Put some glue on it and put it halfway down. And I wasn't too fussy about it. I just eyeballed it. If I want to, I always have the option of taking my grid paper and putting it directly in the middle here and making sure it's nice and straight, which I maybe should have because I'm a little off kilter. The other great thing about glue is you have a couple of seconds to just move things around. So now that's a little more straight. That's a little more straight than it was. I was a little off. Just a wee tad. But, you know, if somebody gets critical of your handmade beautiful project, then, you know, maybe they don't get one next time. Because they're all made with love and a little piece of you. Okay, so this one we're going to place just a little to the right. Kind of even spacing around here. I'm probably a little off on my even spacing, but as long as I have it fairly straight, that should be good. And then again, I'm going to go from the back and I'm going to trim off this little end here. And that is going to be thrown in the scrap pile. Which number is this? Number 7. Okay. Number 8. Actually, let's do the blue one. Number 8. We've got Happy Heart Day. This is kind of like the scrap I have left here going on. I've got this piece here, which you flip it over, it's the blue. I need my Happy Heart Day, which is here. I need my balloon, which is here. And I'm just gonna relax those edges because they were on the bottom side of my cut. And then this one here, I'm seeing a little sliver of red on there. So I'm going to take my paper snips. Now, if you have longer bladed scissors, it's easier to cut a straight line because the blade is longer and you're more steady. When you have smaller scissors, they're great for fussy cutting because you can turn your scissors on a dime, but they make for more of a jagged cut. So I had to be pretty careful there. Okay, and then we're gonna pull in our card base. Fold that in half. How many times have I said that in this video? Probably by the time we're done. What do you want to bet? It's 10 times. Okay. Pull off my bits here. Grab my glue. Oh, she's starting to dry there. I can leave my lid off if I'm doing projects one after the other, but normally I have to put my lid back on so I don't get glue bits. So this one's about 1/2 inch from the top and bottom. I about that nice and straight. Happy Heart Day goes directly on, but then we're going to pop up that balloon because we want that balloon to get a little more height, like it's flying. I'm going to grab our dimensionals again. And you're going to see, like, this is so fast to do, and it allows you to get quite a few little Valentine's cards, maybe for the office or, like I was saying, for the school. If you're giving them to teachers or some of the other kids. There we go. Another one done. Number 8, number 9, and number 10. So I remember I said I was going to do that one last. So we're going to do number 9 here. Number 9. We've got our other piece of the green that we've held out over here. So that one's going to go here. Then we've got our little piece left, our last sliver of hearts here. So we're going to lay these down. I really like the green. I just love that it was not a traditional. So I cut apart that heart piece on the back to give me the green, because the green was just so, I don't know, it's so nice to have like a non-traditional Valentine's color added into it. Sometimes, oh, my Lanta, oh my lady. That was not the most graceful glue application. There. Okay. So we're standing at attention again. I'm just gonna grab, I didn't put a ton of glue on there, so nothing's squeezing out the sides or anything. And then this one here, again, you got a cute little flower, but love you more, way better. The only one I was sad about was the extra special. That one was a pretty fun little play on words. It's like one of my mom's favorite things was puns. She always appreciated a good pun. And you would, oh, womp womp, you know, she would say a pun and everybody would be like, oh, another pun. But now, as I've gotten older, I'm appreciating them a bit more. Bad dad jokes. Okay, trimming this off again, just off the back there. And then that's number 9. So then the last one we have is the one with all the scraps. So I'm going to pull this one in because this is going to take us a bit to get our measurements just right. So all the pieces we have left are kind of here. So we've got this piece left here. We've got a couple of these. We've got our Valentines. We've got this piece. And then this one here, we've got this extra piece, okay? This one we're gonna have to trim down a bit more to get what we want. So I'm gonna pull in the cutter again. I'm just gonna grab this, and I'm thinking we were just over half an inch. And I think what I did was I just cut it to where I could see it there. Okay, so we've got our cutter here. I'm just gonna line this up. I think half an inch was there. I think I took just a little slight bit more. I took it right to where I could see through the track. I can't see any of the white, so I took it to, that's actually 5/8. If you're keen on measurements, it's like 2 ticks or 2 little extra points. But you can see now that I've separated it from, but without the white on there. Then everything else was 3 inches long. So then I'm going to trim it to 3 inches. That's going to be an extra. So everything else of our scraps is 3 inches. I'm just going to line these up real nice in the order they need to be. First, I'm going to take those edges that are standing to attention. We're just going to flatten them real nice so they don't catch on the paper at all. Okay. And I'll pick one of these little slivers, which was from the top of that love. Do you remember that love at the very beginning that we worked on? That's the top and the bottom that we cut off that 1/4 inch. So this one was in the middle. This one was directly above that. We're going to come down a little bit. Then we've got one of these little slivers. I'm going to take the one with just a little more texture to the design. Put that there. Then we're going to grab this sliver here. Put that down. And then this one on the bottom. So there's all of our little scraps. And now I'm a little high on that. So I'm just going to pull these down, make sure I'm getting really nice spacing. Not too much at the top, not too much at the bottom. And then I'm going to start with the bottom and just start layering these on. But you can see why waiting till the end was a little bit easier, because then all you have are the scraps sitting on your table rather than all these big pieces that are hiding all of your little scraps. So that one, I'm going to push that up. I used glue so I can push it up just a titch. Just a little smidge up. Okay. That's probably a little off balance. I'm trying to look at my grid paper here. I've lined up the bottom of my piece and I'm going by the 1/4 of an inch because that's kind of like what we have. And I think I'm a little off on the right. So I'm just going to scooch that up on the right a bit. Again, if anybody says anything, I'll be like, well. And then that one, I'm just lining it right up directly on top. Lining it up though. That's the beauty of the glue, right? Is I can put some pressure on and move it over a little bit if I'm a little bit out. There we go. Put my hearts on. This one's a very valentine-y, you know, with the arrow and the hearts and Cupid. Cupid's got you in a chokehold. You're in love. Okay. All right, and then that last little textured bit. And if this is a little bit, you know, there's a little more spacing on the top than the bottom, nobody's really going to notice. It'll probably be out by an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch, I'm guessing. Probably a little higher on the top. So there we go. That's our last one. Can you believe that? We went through that whole thing, cut all of our pieces, and made 10 valentines in the time that we've been on this video. And all we've got is these little scraps left over, nothing to worry about. And you know what I'd probably do? If I was sending this in a box, I'd use this to decorate a little box or something to put them all in. But here we go. I'm gonna move these out of the way so we can show that we've got all of our cool valentines. We're gonna put them all up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Look at that. Ha! I'm proud of us. If you joined me and did the same thing, be proud of yourself. That was pretty awesome to be able to make that many cards. And with very little product. Like I can make 80 of these because I have, like I had said at the beginning, it was 6 sheets to cut up. And then it was 8 of those sheets are duplicated in the 6x6 pack. So yeah, 80 valentines you could make if you needed to. I hope this inspires you. I hope you had fun. And let me know if you've ever been to Lickety Splits in Sicamous. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.